Good morning! Oh, are you by yourself? Morning, Pearls. Mr. Nick! Please tell me what's going to happen to Mystic Maya. I'm sorry, we don't know yet. The investigation is still going on, so I wasn't allowed into the inner temple. Oh, I see. So Sister Iris is still trying to remove those trick locks in the training hall? No, she's the defendant in this case, so she can't be at the inner temple. She's required to be here in court. Then how come she's not here in the defendant lobby? I'll have to admit, it's kind of strange. If you're looking for Iris, she's in the prosecutor lobby. Edgeworth? What's Iris doing over there? She's going over today's testimony with the prosecutor as we speak. Today's testimony? You heard me. Iris is going to be testifying as a witness for the prosecution. Wait, what? The prosecution is squeezing her for a confession, or so I heard. Franziska von Karma, what are you up to? I know what you're thinking, but Franziska isn't going to be the prosecutor today. What? Then who is? Who else would it be but Godot? Godot? Franziska is engaged in some important work at the Sacred Cavern. Sacred Cavern? You don't mean that she's... Exactly. She has been out there all night, trying to remove those trick locks. With the head nun's assistance, naturally. We estimate that the last of the locks should be taken care of in about 3 hours. I hope everything continues to go smoothly and we receive some good news soon. Yeah, thanks, Edgeworth. Prosecutor Godot intends to nail this case shut today. Be prepared to fight like there's no tomorrow. You don't have to tell me that. I know. I can already see it in your eyes. You're not the same fever-ridden, frantic man you were yesterday. It's strange. On the way here, I decided that today would be the end of all of this. Almost immediately after I made that decision, I felt myself getting stronger. Interesting. Maybe you've passed your cold on to someone else, literally. And with that, I leave the rest in your capable hands, partner. Thanks. I still don't have answers for most of the riddles plaguing this case. The circumstances around the murder of Miss Elise Dunim. No, I mean Miss Misty Fey. The impossible flight Larry claims to have seen. And what that woman is really after. I will solve them all and bring this whole tragedy to an end. February 10th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 7. So I need to fight until 1 p.m., essentially, to get the sacred locks broken. Oh, it's the regular judge again.
Court is now in session for the trial of Iris of Hazakura Temple.
Your Honor? What are you...
Who, me? Well, my little brother came to visit me in my chambers earlier this morning. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, he developed a scorching fever and fainted. Therefore, I'll be standing in for him today.
I see, Your Honor. So they're brothers. That explains a lot.
My poor brother. He looked a bit pale. Not to mention, sad that he couldn't be here.
It is impossible to predict what the future has in store for any of us. That is precisely why people feel they need to judge the past. And we of the court have been charged with the solemn duty of passing such judgment.
Well said, Mr. Godot. I understood exactly what you said. At least up until the end, anyway. Now then, Mr. Godot, please proceed with your opening statement.
Humans are fragile, fickle beings. Our hearts change with the shifting of the tides. There's only one thing that remains a constant in this crazy world. The bitter darkness that lies at the bottom of this mug.
So that you mean... forget it. What do you mean?
During yesterday's trial, the accused refused to admit her role in the crime. But today, she had a change of heart. Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple has a confession to make.
Confession? The defendant?
Oh, God. Iris, why didn't she discuss this with me first?
Very well. The court will now hear the defendant's confession.
Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask for her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
My name is Iris. I am but a simple nun undergoing training at Hazakura Temple.
Witness, is there something that you want to confess to?
Yes, but first I want to apologize to Mr. Wright. I can't continue lying to everyone anymore. It's all right. What is it? Mr. Wright, I have to admit that I did play a part in this terrible incident.
Are you actually confessing? Are you saying that you were the one who murdered Miss Elise Dunim?
No, I'm not, Your Honor. But I dealt with the cover-up after the murder took place. After her spirit left, I took the lifeless shell of Mystic Elise and carried it to Hazakura Temple courtyard where I desecrated it.
What? Oh, order in the court, order! Witness, are you saying you were an accomplice to the murder?
Yes, that's correct. What? Nani? 3 minutes in court and I'm already covered in a cold sweat.
Everyone on the planet is an accomplice to something. It just happens to be that in this case, it's to murder. Isn't that right, Mr. Trite?
That Godot. So this is the confession that they were conspiring about. It pains me to say this, but it looks like Iris's testimony was all a lie. Now then,
little lady, if you don't mind, I've got a question for you. Whose crime were you trying to cover up by your actions?
Iris was covering for someone? Now I'm definitely in the creek without a paddle or a life jacket. I've been at Hazakura Temple ever since I was a little girl. It's run by one of the branch families of the Korean tradition. One of our missions is to protect the main family.
I'm sorry, but main family?
Yes, and that's why I would dirty myself, if need be, to protect her. The daughter of the master of the Korean channeling technique. Mystic Maya Fey. Huh?
Wake up and smell the coffee, Trite.
She's naming Maya?
Order in the court. So not only did you witness the murder, you know the name of the murderer?
I'm terribly sorry, but it's true. I saw her commit the crime with my very own eyes. And then I cleaned up the area to try to protect her. That's ridiculous! Maya could never do such a...
The defense will refrain from commenting until the appropriate time. Now, witness, let's hear your testimony. What exactly happened on the night of the crime?
Yes, Your Honor. I thought I was prepared for the unexpected, but I never imagined the case would end up going this direction. I went to the inner temple that night, and I saw it all happen in the garden. I saw Mystic Elise strike Mystic Maya with her staff. When Mystic Maya was stumbling, Mystic Elise moved to deliver a fatal strike. Mystic Maya tried desperately to defend herself and stole the weapon. It was only in self-defense. You can't blame her for it.
So it was in self-defense?
Yes. Mystic Elise was the one who attacked first. That's why I tried my best to protect Mystic Maya.
You moved the victim's body to the temple so that Mystic Maya wouldn't be suspected? Isn't that right? Not bad. You've got instincts of a true criminal.
Something's not quite right. I'm sure it was established yesterday that Iris never went to the inner temple that night, and that the person who did go was that woman. Iris even admitted it.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please proceed with your cross-examination.
I went to the inner temple that night, and I saw it all happen in the garden. Sister Iris, your testimony has changed quite a bit since yesterday. You stated yesterday that on the night of the murder, you didn't go to the inner temple.
did she now? Too bad for you, what she said yesterday doesn't mean much today. By the way, where were you when she claimed that she didn't go?
I was in the inner temple's training hall.
A private conversation between the two of you does not constitute testimony. That would properly be described as heresy. Hearsay.
What do you have to say, witness?
I just couldn't tell him the truth at that time. Mystic Maya, she's your girlfriend, isn't she? I didn't want to be the one to break it to you that I saw her commit murder.
There. We all understand how difficult this is for you. Now then, let's continue with the testimony. What did you witness in the temple garden?
Well, Your Honor, I saw Mystic Elise strike Mystic Maya with her staff. You're saying that the victim attacked Maya? I mean, Miss Faye? Yes! It was a truly frightening scene. Mystic Maya was struck hard on the head and looked like she was going to collapse. What were you doing at the time? Why didn't you stop them from fighting? I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Wright. I was frightened. I couldn't move. I couldn't even speak. I was in such shock.
That's perfectly understandable, my dear.
That doesn't sound right. I don't believe this testimony for a minute.
What happened after that?
While Mystic Maya was stumbling, Mystic Elise moved in to deliver a fatal strike. She moved in to deliver a fatal strike? Yes, I'm sure of it. She threw down her staff and reached for her robe for a weapon. Wait a minute. What was this weapon? It was some kind of dagger. A dagger, huh? And Elise Dunim tried to stab her with this weapon to kill Miss Faye? Yes, exactly.
You look like I did after I mistakenly took a swig of Worcestershire sauce. Do you have a problem with the testimony we're hearing from your client, lawyer boy?
Do I have a problem with Iris's testimony? Yeah, I do. Why would she have a dagger when her staff was a weapon? Your Honor, I have a small problem with the witness's testimony.
You do?
But
this witness is your own client.
Yeah, well, nevertheless.
That's fine. Witness, let's add your last statement to the testimony.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just a moment. It's my job to say that.
Listen, Gramps! I won't say it again! Final judgment will be rendered by me! Ugh. Okay, now, let's continue.
She threw her staff away and pulled a dagger from inside her robe. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Sister Iris, there's something strange about your version of the events. Huh? Miss Dunim throwing her staff away makes no sense at all to me. What you can do with a staff, all you can do with a staff is hit someone. Naturally, you wouldn't know this, Sister Iris, but the victim's staff had a special feature about it. As you can see, it's a sword. Oh! If Elise Dunim really had wanted to kill Maya Faye, she wouldn't have needed to use a separate dagger. Not when she already had a beautiful blade already in her hands. Well, Sister Iris, what do you have to say?
That was an impressive bit of investigating, trite. I never would have thought there was a sword hidden in that staff. But even so, how should I put this? A long sword is unwieldy, and thus quite ineffective in close quarters combat. Maybe that's why she chose a dagger over her blade.
Well...
Anyway, that type of weapon she chose to use isn't what's important. The important thing is that she tried to kill Maya Faye. As long as there's nothing strange about that, there's no problem with her testimony.
But there is something strange about the whole testimony.
Well, Mr. Wright, the prosecution has a point.
Very well, Your Honor. The defense will now present evidence to back its argument. Mr. Wright? I have here another piece of evidence that shows this testimony can't be trusted, because Miss Elise Dunim would never attempt to take the life of Maya Fey. Elise Dunim would never have attacked Maya Fey. How can you be so sure? Because the victim's real name was not Elise Dunim. Her real name was Misty Fey.
Fey?
Oh, no! Not Mystic Misty Fey!
Who is this Misty Fey? Is she related to...
Misty Fey is the master of the Karain channeling technique. She is also the mother of Maya Fey.
Are you serious?
Is it really true? Mr. Wright, was Elise Dunim actually the great Mystic Misty? There's no doubt about it. It looks like Iris had no idea. I can hardly believe it. The idea that she would try to kill her only daughter, one she hadn't seen in 17 years. Perhaps the prosecution can offer some explanation for why she would try to do such a thing.
Order! Order in the court! Upon first hearing the witness's testimony, it seemed natural enough. However, in light of some facts that have been presented, 1, that the victim supposedly threw away a sword during a fight, and 2, that the people battling to death were mother and daughter, despite the facts being believable when taken on their own, when taken together, the entire story seems to be difficult to believe.
Listen, there's nothing in this world that's impossible, except for one little thing.
Yes, well, what is that one little impossible thing?
You still don't get it. You think maybe my beans are under roasted, but you have no idea, Gramps.
Could you get to your point?
I heard this witness's confession this morning, just as I had taken my first sip of my 8th cup of morning coffee.
You're gonna ruin your health, my friend.
Anyway, after hearing this woman's confession, I had a detective who loves to investigate sent to the scene of the crime, and he discovered this little beauty.
Is that a dagger the witness testified to seeing?
Obviously, Your Honor. But do you not notice something else?
Now that you mention it, if you look closely, there appears to be a bloodstain.
Where did you find that? I didn't see that when I investigated the crime scene.
Did you investigate the pine tree at the crime scene?
Huh? The pine tree? The dagger was stuck in the backside of the pine tree? Where the last blow was struck when the last blow was struck, ending the violent battle between the two women. Oh, sorry, wrong person.
When the last blow was struck, ending the battle between the two women, this little baby was thrown in the direction of the back of the pine tree.
Which means the blood on the dagger must belong to the victim, correct?
Were you even listening, old man? I first heard this confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 13th cup of coffee.
Didn't you say it was your 8th just a few minutes ago?
I didn't have enough time to get the blood analyzed on such a short notice.
In any case, the court will accept the dagger as evidence. Furthermore, I order that a blood test be performed on this immediately.
This is my sweetheart. Make sure you treat her right.
Bailiff, get this piece of evidence to the crime lab for testing immediately. Now then, the testimony we've just heard had numerous unbelievable aspects to it. However, after finding the dagger that the witness spoke of, I believe we can consider her testimony to be credible.
Cute girls never lie. Ever.
In any case, witness, if you could please testify again to the court.
About what, Your Honor?
About the incident you saw, the battle between the two women.
Yes, Your Honor. Mystic Maya stumbled briefly after being hit over the head with the staff, but then she dodged Mystic Elise's next attack and stole her weapon. Suddenly, Mystic Elise was the one on the defensive. with her back to the stone lantern. That's when Mystic Maya stabbed Mystic Elise. Mystic Elise managed to fling the knife away, but then she collapsed. Alright, we already have a contradiction here, because Mystic Elise was stabbed in the back. We have that in the autopsy. Cause of death, lost from a stab in the back. Body fell 10 feet after death as well.
That was a very heartbreaking story.
I don't know if there were any bad feelings between them, but it had been 17 years since Mystic Misty's disappearance. Perhaps they simply didn't recognize each other anymore.
That seems reasonable enough to me. Now then, Mr. Wright, proceed with your cross-examination.
Mystic Maya stumbled briefly after being hit over the head with a staff, but then she dodged Mystic Elise's next attack and stole her weapon. Suddenly, Mystic Elise was the one on the defensive with her back to the stone lantern. That's when Mystic Maya stabbed Mystic Elise. Okay, so we gotta present here, I believe. I think the autopsy report is our call. Something about you just isn't right today, Iris. Huh? Until now, I didn't think you were the type to make such a careless mistake. However, the testimony you just gave contradicts quite a few things. What do you mean? What's so wrong about my testimony? According to you, Maya Fey stabbed the victim, who had her back to the stone lantern, correct? Yes, that's right. But in that case, the victim would have been stabbed in the stomach, right?
Yes, I think so.
But, according to the autopsy report, the cause of death was loss of blood due to a stab in the wound in her back. Oh. This proves that the victim was stabbed from behind, not from the front. Sister Iris, it appears another seed of doubt has sprouted from your testimony. Ah!
What? What is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright?
It's simple. People are like books. We've all got a front and a back. You get my drift?
Is that all you have to say?
I can also say that darkness loves to play with the human mind.
Could you please knock it off with the treasy proverbs and the illogical metaphors already? The point is, too much of this testimony just doesn't make sense. Throwing away a useful staff, people fighting, being mother and daughter. And now she falsely claims that the victim was stabbed in the stomach?
There certainly are some inconsistencies.
Well, Iris, how about it? Well, it's just... Alright, really quick interruption for my crackpot theory. I think right now, Iris is channeling Dahlia. And the reason that none of us can tell, obviously, is because, as we've seen in the past, when a character channels another character, or a person channels another person, they take on their body, but their clothes stay the same, their hair stay the same. So, Dahlia and Iris are twins, and we've seen Pearl chant Mia Fey before, and the hair stood the same. So there's no reason her hair would turn red after channeling. This seems like Dahlia is the one at the stand, considering her sudden change of heart and all that nonsense. I'm pretty sure Iris is channeling Dahlia. That's my theory. Well, it's just...
If you ask me, you're just being too naive about the whole thing.
What do you mean?
There are 253 distinct types of bitterness in coffee, but to pick out each one requires total concentration and to use all the senses. Were you really concentrating on what this witness actually said?
Prosecutor Godot, explain yourself.
The witness was quite unambiguous about her own ambiguities when she said the garden was dark and she couldn't see clearly. A human needs one thing to see clearly, and that is light.
Light.
By the way, did you know? The Inner Temple has a rule that on nights when an acolyte is there training, the stone lantern in the garden is to always be lit.
I did wonder if that stone lantern was there for.
Well, if that's true, shouldn't the witness have been able to see the crime more clearly?
Normally, yes, Your Honor, but according to the head nun, Sister Bikini, on the night of the crime, it was impossible to light that stone lantern.
Impossible?
It hadn't been used in a long time, and the wick was no good. In other words, it had been nearly pitch black in the garden that night. There could have been a faint light coming from the training hall, but that's it.
Most enlightening.
Yeah, that illuminating fact has chased away all the contradictions. If the staff was dropped, it'd be difficult to see. It also explains why they didn't recognize each other. We can't see the demons that lurk in the night. That's why humans are weak. Isn't that right, Shrite?
No!
Order.
Here, Your Honor. Let me present this stone lantern into evidence. Maybe it'll rekindle the flame of truth into your mind.
Stone lantern added to the court record. I want to take a look at it. Why is the judge just sitting there with that look on his face? Lantern from the inner temple garden was not lit the night of the crime. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
What's wrong, Your Honor? Was that flame too hot?
This lantern. There's something written on it.
Huh?
What? Why? It's written in blood!
Oh boy, so the judge didn't know about that yet?
Written in blood?
It says Maya upside down.
What the?
Oh yes, that's right. After being cornered and then stabbed by Mystic Maya, Mystic Elise didn't fall down right away. She must have been writing on the stone lantern behind her, with the blood that was draining out of her body.
It certainly looks that way.
Hang on just a minute. What are you all talking about?
What do you mean, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the message written in blood.
Nonsense! This lantern, it's as clean as a whistle.
Could it be he can't see the bloody writing at all? Now that I think of it, he did say something to me yesterday.
My eyesight is pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, I can't see everything.
Maybe he can't see the color red. I feel like Godot taking a sip from coffee. So that's what he meant by that.
In any case, this is obviously an important clue. We now know the crime scene was dark, and that the victim scrawled this message on the stone lantern. Well, Mr. Godot, anything further? Mr. Godot?
Okay then, let's move on.
Godot is literally shaking, and somehow I don't think it's from the caffeine overdose.
I believe it has now been established that Miss Dunim was killed by Maya Fade.
That's just wrong!
Now it's time to turn our attention to you.
Yes, sir.
After the victim died, you did something, didn't you? Let's hear it. We're all ears.
Sister Iris's cover-up. After Mystic Elise died, I called to Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future master of the Karain channeling technique, so, I removed the body from the inner temple by myself. I dragged it behind all the way to the Dusky Bridge. Then I used the snowmobile to carry it back to Hazakura Temple, and I used the Shichishito to alter the way the wound would look.
So you moved the body?
Yes. I was raised at Hazakura Temple. I owe a great deal of thanks to the Fae clan, but even so, I never imagined that Elise Dunim was actually Misty Fae. I've committed a terrible sin.
A terrible trick of fate.
I believe you're looking for a twist of fate, Your Honor. I intend to return to the temple after taking care of the body, but
You were spotted by the head nun, correct?
yes, and that's why I couldn't go back.
Your story makes sense, I suppose. Mr. Wright, go ahead with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. There's holes here. Do I have a, what's it called? Do I have a photo or a testimony from Bikini about times? One thing that's also suspicious is that she brought the staff back with no amethyst, and that the amethyst was found near the bridge. Like, there's so many things that aren't adding up here. After Mystic Elise died, I called out to Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future of the master of the Korean channeling tradition. So I removed the body from the inner temple myself. I'm pressing here. Why did you do that? Because I didn't want Mystic Maya to be suspected in any way. I thought the best thing would be to remove the body from the crime scene.
You moved her body all by yourself?
Yes, I did. It would have been impossible if it weren't for the snow. The snow, huh? I dragged it behind me all the way to Dusky Bridge. It's pretty amazing you can make it all the way across. That's a rickety old bridge. It looks worse than it is. It's surprisingly sturdy despite its age.
It's like they say, idiots are too stupid to catch even a simple cold.
But there's one other thing that bothers me. Why not just throw the body into Eagle River? It would have been much easier than dragging it all the way to Hazakura Temple. I thought that would still cast too much suspicion on Mystic Maya. That's why I tried to take the body as far away as possible.
Makes perfect sense to me, for the time being. Anyway, what did you do after you crossed the bridge?
Then I used the snowmobile to carry it back to Hazakura Temple and... The snowmobile? I knew that would show up sooner or later. Yes, I had the key. I used the snowmobile to travel from Hazakura Temple to Dusky Bridge. This is the part of the day that was in question the other day. Should I ask for more details? Yes. Ask about the snowmobile. Let me hear more about the snowmobile ride. Well, it was very cold that night, so I rode it all the way to the foot of the bridge.
I'm sorry, witness, but now I've got a problem with your testimony.
Excuse me? Godot, what are you up to now?
That night, after the head nun left to the remainder of the training to you, she said she walked from the inner temple back to Hazakura Temple.
Yes, I'm fairly certain that's the record, what the record indicates.
Let's recall her comments on the subject.
Maybe, but when I made it back to Hazakura Temple, it was there, by the main gate, the snowmobile, I mean.
The snowmobile was in front of the main gate. This is one of those contradictions, wouldn't you say?
Order in my court! Mr. Godot, why are you pointing out contradictions in the witness's testimony?
Let's just say that I like things to be neat and tidy, okay?
Well, maybe. Maybe Sister Bikini missed it. Yeah, maybe she didn't see it. You think she missed it? That doesn't sound right.
Whatever. Even I don't think this is decisive enough to warrant any more time or effort. It's just, you'd better be careful in your testimony. That's all I wanted to say. A smart little cookie like you shouldn't have any trouble understanding that.
Yes, sir. What was that all about? Why would Godot want to give me a hint?
Very well then, let's continue with the testimony. So you transported the body by snowmobile all the way to Hazakura Temple courtyard.
Yes, I thought that way Mystic Maya would never be suspected. That's what I thought anyway. And then I used the Shichishito. To alter the way the wound looked. Is that what you were doing when you saw when Sister Bikini saw you? Yes, that's right. She probably thought the worst. Probably. More like definitely.
I see. So Sister Bikini mistakenly thought you were the one that murdered Miss Dunim.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. It's all my fault that this case has gotten so confusing. I don't want to believe it, but I don't think my logic is failing me. Iris is trying to pin the murder on Maya. But why would she want to do that? There's only one reason I can think of. Okay. So, I need to find the evidence that points out time discrepancies here, because one thing we know is that because of the weather data, the snow stopped at 10:50. So, the murder in the courtyard happened at 11. So, I was trying to look into some kind of contradiction. I feel like the snowmobile, like, Godot gave me the hint. It's got to be something with the snowmobile. Let's repress this. Let's go with the other option. Yes, I had the key. I used the snowmobile to travel from Hazakura Temple to Dusky Bridge. This is the part that was in question the other day. Should I ask for more details? Alright, I'm gonna go off the assumption that we're not talking to Iris and that we're talking to Dahlia. So things that Dahlia might not know are the details of the weather and the tracks and all that stuff. So I'm going to ask about the tracks. If you really did move her body by snowmobile, then there should be tracks left in the snow, right?
Well, yes, naturally you would expect tracks.
This picture was presented at yesterday's trial. Are these the tracks from that ride? Yes, I think they are. But I can only see one set of tracks here. I don't see what's so strange about that. Snow was still falling when I left Hazakura Temple.
I see. Snow was still falling, huh?
And then, when the murder took place, it had already stopped. That's why there are such fresh-looking tracks.
How about it, Mr. Wright? What do you think about this testimony?
Oh, it's important. When the murder took place, the snow had already stopped? That doesn't make any sense if you stack it up against the other evidence. Your Honor, I'd like that statement Iris just made added to the testimony.
But does it have something to do with the case?
All will be made clear if you allow her statement to be added to the record.
Heh, this should be fun. Let's get this snow business cleared up, shall we?
Yes, sir. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. Let's take another peek at the weather data. Snow was at 10:50. So, by the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. But, going back to... Not this. Going back to... Not this. The crime photo. No, not that either. Maybe the orb? By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. I used the Shichishito to alter the way the wound looked. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. I'm not too sure where to go from here. I'm gonna press on some things again. Let's try pressing the new statement. There have been a lot of contradictions in your testimony so far. This time, are you sure it's all true? Yes, I am. When the murder happened, the snow had already stopped. According to you, that's why the snowmobile tracks were so clear. That's right. I'm certain of it. I think I've trapped her this time.
I see how you think. Snow, huh? What's going on here?
If the snow had really stopped by the time of the murder, it'd mean there's a bigger hole in her story than the movie The Grid Revelations. What? Did Phoenix Wright just call out some movie no one's heard of?
Well then, Mr. Detroit, perhaps you'd like to share your theory with us. Let's see what's up your sleeve, or rather at the end of your index finger.
I don't want to believe it, but I don't think my logic is failing me. Iris is trying to pin the murder on Maya. After Mystic Elise died, I called out to Mystic Maya. Dragged it behind me all the way to Dusky. Oh, hold on a second! Wait. Lightning struck Dusky Bridge at about 10:45. Here's the contradiction. If the murder happened after the snow had finished falling, then the bridge would have already been on fire. She wouldn't have been able to cross. Got it. You claim that the snow had already stopped when the murder occurred, but I'm sorry, Iris. That just isn't possible. What? This is the weather data from the night of the murder. According to this, the snow didn't stop until 10:50 p.m. But you couldn't have crossed the Dusky Bridge at that time. Well, why do you say that? Because 5 minutes before the snow stopped, Dusky Bridge was struck by lightning and had caught on fire. What did you say? The bridge, it was on fire?
You don't mean to say you didn't know about it? It was because of that lightning strike that the bridge burned down.
What? But it can't be. It looks like you still haven't figured it out. No matter how hard you try to deceive or conceal the truth, you can't pull the wool over the eyes of a real defense attorney. No!
Order, order, order!
The bridge was already on fire when the incident took place. That's right, the inner temple was already totally cut off from the outside world. There's no way she could have crossed the bridge. Body or no body?
Witness, even my patience has its limits. Any further lying and I will find you in contempt of court. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
The only person here that's truly contemptible is you. Old man.
Me? How dare you?
Whether this witness lied or not doesn't matter. It means squat right now.
Squat?
The important thing now is to find out the truth. Isn't that right?
Yes, of course, but
Whether it was snowing or not snowing, whether the bridge was burning or not, these are two facts that can't be disputed. First, the body of Elise Dunim was discovered in the Hazakura Temple courtyard. And second, the head nun, Sister Bikini, witnessed Iris desecrating Elise Dunim's body.
He makes a good point on both accounts. That's right, I'm not lying.
what are you claiming this time?
I wasn't myself at all that night, so my memory is still somewhat hazy. You have stood at that witness stand and testified this entire time. Are you telling us now that your memory of that night is hazy?
It is only human to err. If you're so perfect, Troy, maybe you can explain this for the court.
What is it?
When the murder happened, the bridge had already burnt down. But somehow the body traveled across that bridge and was found in the temple courtyard. Perhaps you have some kind of perfect explanation for this little magic trick.
Well, not exactly, no. I know there must be some other way she got across that burnt-out bridge, but unless I can somehow demonstrate it, we'll never know the truth.
It looks like the defense is not prepared to offer a suitable explanation.
You see what I mean? In other words, you're in no position to suggest that this lady's testimony isn't the truth.
Other than the extremely contradictory statements she's made.
All right then, witness. Let's hear your testimony once more.
About what, Your Honor?
You've admitted that you moved the victim's body. Nevertheless, your prior testimony contained a rather large inconsistency. Please add an explanation for that to your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. Will this be her final testimony? Moving the body. Other than walking over the bridge, there's no way to move the body. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. Was the snow still falling or had it stopped? Does it really matter that much? Or are you saying that there is a way to cross a burning bridge?
So it was just a misunderstanding. I see.
This is
a photo of the Dusky Bridge after it burned down from the lightning blasts. It was taken on the morning after the incident.
It certainly was burned to a crisp. And one of the suspension wires is gone. It's amazing the whole bridge didn't fall. Clearly, it would be impossible to carry a corpse across a bridge in this condition.
Unless I do something to discredit this testimony, it's going to be deemed as the truth, and Maya will be accused of murder.
Trite, I'm only going to say it one more time. It's only human to err, and only humans can spot the errors of our ways.
The more sense he makes, the less sense he makes.
All right, Mr. Wright, please begin your final cross-examination.
Other than walking over the bridge, there's no way to move the body. Yes, but if the snow had already stopped when the incident took place, I couldn't have crossed the bridge naturally. But I think it's just like Mr. Godot said, the body did make it across somehow. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. But you seem to be quite sure of yourself when you gave your testimony. You said you were sure the snow had already stopped. I'm terribly sorry, I was wrong. Does she really think an apology is going to get her off the hook? Was the snow still falling or had it stopped? Does it really matter that much? This is no joke. You're giving sworn testimony in a court of law. Well, Mr. Wright, let me ask you a question. Do you remember what the weather was like 1 week ago today? Huh? Well, naturally it was, You see? It's not that easy to remember, is it? But if it had been some kind of special day, I would have remembered. For example, it was pouring rain on the day of my elementary school graduation.
No one wants to hear about your childhood traumas, Trite.
What?
By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. If you insist on obsessing over that statement, let's see the proof. Show some evidence that the body somehow crossed the bridge while it was on fire.
Oh, I will do. After I finish pressing this statement. Well, I don't see why there couldn't be a way across. Mr. Wright, don't you think that sounds a bit silly? A dead body crossing a burning bridge? Did anyone actually witness such a thing?
If there was, I don't
think you'd call someone like that a witness. After all, a dream isn't the same as actually seeing something.
I've come all this way, so I owe it to everyone to figure this out. But how do you transport a burning body across a bridge? Even if I don't know the exact answer yet, it's okay. I'll start by examining all of my evidence and see where it takes me. I've got to be like a shark. If I don't keep moving, I'm as good as dead. I know exactly what's going on here. Okay, so look, we got the evidence, we got this picture of the bridge, right? You can clearly see that all of the suspension wires are attached, like I said earlier, to the bottom of the bridge. I mentioned that, like, yesterday. Now, if you take a look at Larry's stupid little sketch, the wires are attached to the bottom of the bridge. This picture isn't of someone flying over the bridge. Flip it upside down. Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna flip it upside down. Flip it upside down. And you have a body swinging from under the bridge. Possibly swinging towards Heavenly Hall to the base of the mountain, because there is a way to climb back up. Therefore, there's definitely a way this could have been possible. This upside down sketch matches the actual layout of the bridge. So I don't know which statement to present this photo on, or this picture on, but I think it'll be this one, because I pressed here and this is where Godot said present some evidence. Or maybe this. Are you saying there's some other way to cross? I'm gonna do it on this one. This seems more likely. Let's go. A dead body flying over a burning bridge. I wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility.
What?
You're saying it's possible? Don't make me laugh. The only thing that's possible about your claim is that it's being pulled out of thin air.
I don't know about that. In any case, we have a witness who did see it happen.
Preposterous!
Who is it? Who is this witness?
I can't chicken out here. I gotta keep on the attack and go, go, go. Miss Elise Dunim's brilliant and highly gifted apprentice, Laurice Dunim.
Brilliant?
Highly gifted?
Apprentice? Remember what he said in his testimony. That night, he was at the mountain shack, Heavenly Hall. And that's when he witnessed the event. I think you've all seen this sketch before. It's an exact drawing of what he witnessed that night.
Are you serious? Today is not April Fool's Day, is it? Mr. Wright, are you seriously claiming the victim flew through the air? And you're using this pathetic scribble to support your argument?
Uh-oh. The judge looks like he's about to blow a gasket.
Well tried. Now there's nowhere for you to hide. Other than looking like it was drawn by a 6-year-old, does this sketch prove anything?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it does, and I'm going to prove it.
Listen, I know your tricks. You're trying to turn this whole thing upside down. If you're so eager to turn the case upside down, why not start with this sketch?
Upside down? Why did Godot say that?
All right then, let's hear the defense's theory. What exactly is this sketch trying to show?
I don't think old Whiskerface is going to forgive me for any more mistakes. Alright, Phoenix, look carefully and think it over. The sketches drawn by Laurice Denim is... evidence of nothing, a complete exactly what happened. Of course the victim was flying through the air. You can see it right there in the sketch. Whoosh!
You know, you're starting to remind me of yesterday's witness.
What? That was the last thing I wanted to hear.
Do you have any evidence that the victim flew through thin air?
Just so you know, we haven't discovered a giant human catapult at the Inner Temple yet.
Ugh, I wish they had.
Even if you're a lousy lawyer, at least you're one cup of worth it of entertainment. I think we should skip the penalty this time.
Yeah, there must be some way. I just know it. There must be a way to use Larry's sketch to show the truth of what happened. I wish there was a turn it upside down button.
All right, then the witness will now return to her testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, I'm gonna try it again and try choosing the contradiction. Maybe the thing is I have to point out the contradiction with the wires first to prove that the photo's upside down. That makes sense. All right. A complete contradiction. Something is obviously funny about this sketch.
I'm no art critic, but even I can see that.
No, that's not what I meant, Your Honor. Maurice Denim stated it over and over that this sketch was exactly as he saw it. However, if we're to believe his testimony, then the sketch contradicts reality as we know it. It contradicts reality?
This is getting interesting. Looks like you're back to that finger-pointing thing again. Okay, Trite, so what exactly contradicts reality as we know it?
The wire, right? It's this wire connected to the bridge.
The wire?
Is that the thing that contradicts reality?
It is indeed.
Then show us the reality it supposedly contradicts. Show us something that'll point out how this sketch contradicts reality.
He just gave me the... He's on my side like 100% today, dude.
That's a photo of Dusky Bridge, correct?
Yes, now compare the sketch and the photo for a minute. In the sketch, the wires appear to be above the guard wires. But on the actual Dusky Bridge,
Jumping Jehoshaphat!
the wires are below the guard wires.
What?
Order! Order!
This sketch is somewhat different than what's depicted in the photo. However, isn't it likely that the artist just saw it wrong?
Or perhaps he just drew it wrong.
Either way, it sounds like you're just wrong.
With someone like Maurice, I admit a mistake is definitely possible. But then that begs the question, why did he make a mistake? What was the reason?
Are you saying you know the answer to that?
Listen, think back, alright? Remember what Maurice was doing when he witnessed the event. He was at Heavenly Hall waiting for a lover that was never going to come. He waited and waited, and finally he laid down. But then, lightning shoots from the sky and sets the bridge aflame. Now ponder what sort of position Larry must have been in at the time. He was lying on his back, which is why he remembered the scene the way he did.
He was lying on his back? I can't see how it relates.
But it does, Your Honor. That is the reason why the wires in this sketch go up instead of down.
Oh.
No way.
Maurice Dunim witnessed the event while lying on his back, face up. In other words, the scene that he saw was actually upside down.
So then, this sketch should actually...
I think you finally get it, Your Honor. The correct way to view Maurice Dunim's sketch is like this. This is how it should actually look. The victim's body wasn't flying above the bridge. It was actually swinging below. That's right! Just like a pendulum.
Ridiculous! Of all the things to say, a pendulum?
The bridge was burning to a crisp. There's no way to get across it, but if the body had been found in the inner temple, it would have caused problems. This is where the criminal decided to take a gamble. They used the burning bridge to get the body across to the other side, and the pendulum was the only way to get it done.
Let's think about this for a minute, shall we? Dusky Bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff.
Yeah, that sounds right.
In order to cover that distance with a pendulum, you'd need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you'd have to plan ahead.
The lightning strike that night can only have been an accident, so it doesn't make sense that the criminal would have prepared a rope beforehand. So then, the criminal... They didn't have to get the rope ready. The rope was already right in front of the criminal.
What?
I'm saying that it was just a matter of using what was already there.
In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think the criminal had the rope on hand to create the pendulum?
Well, the only one that's snipped is this one. The only one that's not attached is that one. So it's gotta be this photo.
And the meaning of this is?
If you want to know where the rope came from, it's hanging right there in front of your glorious beard.
Oh! This is one of the wires from the bridge!
When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, one of the suspension wires came loose from its anchor. The criminal didn't have any time to waste, so they tied the wire around Elise Dunham's body. It's a real big risk, because there was simply no other way to move the body. Like, how do they get it on the ledge, though? I love when he starts chugging coffee.
Mr. Godot? It seems Mr. Godot is more focused on his coffee than answering my question. It seems that the odds of the rope being readily available were very high, so I suppose that it's not an impossibility after all.
Possible or impossible? That's not the question we need to ask. The only question is, did that really happen? Trite, I wonder if you can prove what happened to us. Do you have any actual evidence that the body was swung over like a pendulum?
The body fell 10 feet after death, and that would only make sense if it was thrown out the window of the building, which we have no actual evidence toward because the murder took place here, but because the body fell 10 feet after swinging. Before I present my evidence, let me review what we know so far. According to this photo, one of the wires snapped. Looking at the map, we can see it's the one that was in front of the inner temple.
So then, that was the spot where the criminal was?
Precisely. Now let us consider the body's movements by looking at the overhead map again. If the body was pushed from here at this point, it would drop on the opposite bank at approximately this point.
Did you say drop?
Well, they must have failed to catch the body on the other bank. What makes you think something like this actually happened? Because I have evidence that suggests her body dropped some distance. What kind of evidence? Take a look at this autopsy report. It says right here that her body fell about 10 feet after her death.
10 feet, huh?
That's most likely the height difference between the two sides. The body overswung due to forward momentum, but then came loose and fell about 10 feet. And then, as a result of the landing impact, this crystal sphere was knocked loose. Yes, this blood-stained amethyst crystal. It's the one that came off Miss Elise Dunham's staff. And even more important is the place where the crystal sphere was found.
Indeed. I believe it is already marked on this overhead map. The crystal was found. Whoa!
Precisely, Your Honor. In the very spot where the pendulum would have arrived if given the right amount of speed.
This explains your theory quite well, Mr. Wright. You have provided us with a way the body could have been moved that night. An impressive deduction, Mr. Wright. Most impressive. But, Mr. Wright?
I thought this cold coffee might help you cool down.
What is the meaning of this, Mr. Godot?
That was a dark and bitter guess that you made, Trite. But you forgot about one thing.
Oh? And what would that be?
The aroma.
Huh?
A coffee's most reliable accomplice is its deep and profound aroma.
The rest of the court doesn't speak Coffinese. Can you elaborate a bit more?
If the criminal had sent the body flying to the other side like you said, then naturally there must have been an accomplice lying in wait to catch it.
An accomplice?
The criminal wasn't able to cross Dusky Bridge, so who collected the body? What do you have to say about that, Wright?
Mr. Godot is correct. This can't be the work of a single person. Well, Mr. Wright, you know what you must do.
Yes, Your Honor. The body couldn't have made it to Hazakura Temple without an accomplice.
Very well, then. If you please, Mr. Wright. Who was the person that received the body on Hazakura Temple's side?
I really want to say Dahlia Hawthorne. Because the person who swung the body has to be the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne taking over someone's body. That's the only thing that makes sense. We know it wasn't Pearl, though. Maybe Maya was accidentally channeling the spirit already, or maybe something else entirely. Maybe that's why Maya is being declared so guilty by friggin', you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe that's why Maya is being on blast right now, because Dahlia Hawthorne took over her body, killed Elise, swung her past to Iris, and is trying to pin it on Maya right now. That's what makes the most sense. So I think I'm gonna, because I don't think I can present anyone else here. It can't be Mia or Maya. It can't be Pearl. It's definitely not Godot, Gumshoe, or Bikini. It's not the victim herself. It's not Larice. It's not Von Karma or Edgeworth. And it's not Morgan Fay. And if I present Dahlia, I'm gonna be laughed at in court. Iris is the only possibility. It can only be you, Sister Iris. Huh? But I don't see why you're so surprised. The only way to transport the body from Dusky Bridge is by snowmobile. But with her bad back, Sister Bikini could never have picked up a body like that. You're the only one that could have managed it.
Wright, were you even listening to the witness's testimony? On the night of the crime, this little cutie pie was on cleanup duty at the Inner Temple Garden after the mother-daughter bloodbath.
I haven't forgotten, but have you, Mr. Godot? This witness was also seen at Hazakura Temple, desecrating the corpse of the victim.
Strange indeed. It's almost as if, on that night, the defendant was in two different places at the same time.
Sister Iris, let me ask you something. Why didn't you mention it when you first gave your testimony? Mention what? The pendulum, of course. Using this sketch drawn by an eyewitness, I have established in how the body was moved using the burnt-out bridge, which means it is now a fact that this occurred. Something you should have already known. No! I had no idea! I didn't know anything about a pendulum. But the body couldn't have been passed along to the other side without your help. So you should have known about it. In fact, it'd be impossible for you to be clueless about this whole thing, unless you're not really Iris to begin with. What? How can you say that, Mr. Wright?
What? What kind of nonsense is this? You're saying this witness isn't Iris of Hazakura Temple?
Are you serious? Wright. You mean this woman is...
There's no one besides Iris that could have received the corpse that night. Now I get it. Now I know why I've been sick to my stomach during this trial. Why her whole demeanor has changed so suddenly from yesterday, and why she's trying to pin this murder on Maya. The woman that's standing there at the witness stand. Her real name. I never thought I'd have to utter your name again. Let alone see you, you piece of trash. It's been a long time, Dahlia Hawthorne.
Hawthorne?
Sister Iris had a twin sister. And you're looking at her. Miss Dahlia Hawthorne.
That name rings some bells. Distant bells, but bells nonetheless.
It's just your imagination, Gramps. This file contains all the relevant data about Dahlia Hawthorne.
Oh yes, I remember now. That case, 5 years ago.
My name is Dahlia Hawthorne. I just want to say, it's an honor for me to be here in your noble presence.
The honor is all mine.
No, the honor is all mine. But according to this, Dahlia Hawthorne is already dead. It says her execution was carried out last month.
So what? Death has no meaning in this courtroom!
Come on, man. What?
Order! Order! Order!
Wait a moment. How can you... My sister? She's already dead. What kind of... I love how she's like, my dead sister, and Phoenix is like, shut up! Objection! You of all people should already understand. After all, the blood of the master of the Karain channeling technique flows within that body.
The Karain channeling technique? Now, where have I heard that?
That's right. You're not Dahlia Hawthorne herself. You're the spirit of Dahlia, currently inhabiting the body of a spirit medium. Oh my god, it makes so much sense! Because at the inner temple, there was a change of outfit. There was the dresser filled with temple lady outfits. So Dahlia could have taken over Maya's body, changed into this outfit to look exactly like Iris. Oh my god! So where is the real Iris then?
What an exciting story. Exciting, but quite impossible. You're asking us to buy that Dahlia Hawthorne just happened to be channeled by someone on the very night of the murder to a temple where her twin sister Iris was?
Well, if you're gonna put things that way, then yes.
Damn it, we're supposed to believe a coincidence like that just happened?
Naturally, it was no coincidence. The whole thing was part of a plan from the very beginning. It's all written here in these instructions. What's that? These instructions were written by your mother, Morgan Fay. And part of the plan called for Dahlia Hawthorne to be channeled. That night, there were 2 irises at Hazakura Temple.
Two of them?
Even the time of the channeling was planned out. As soon as you hear the lights out bell, in other words, 10 p.m. However, Iris was seen before dinner time.
That means that the Iris that was at dinner was the real Iris.
And the Iris who gave me this hood in the main hall was also the real Iris. Meaning that the Iris Sister Bikini saw at the temple was someone else dressed as her. Namely, one Dahlia Hawthorne.
Do you even know what you're saying, Trey? This whole channeling the spirit of Dahlia Hawthorne business? Yeah, it's true that you found plans that talk about it. However, there's one thing that's perfectly clear. The witness currently standing is in the witness stand is the real Iris.
What?
Calm down and remember what you know about the night of the crime. After meeting Sister Bikini, the Dahlia Hawthorne that had been channeled would have been stranded at the inner temple due to the lightning strike. It was later that the body was moved by a pendulum.
That's right.
Naturally, this would mean that the Iris that received the body was the real Iris. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
After being notified of what happened, the police came to Hazakura's temple's main hall. There, they found Iris in her room and arrested her.
The person behind the spirit locks at the temple isn't Maya, it's the real Iris. Oh, shit. Oh, damn.
There, they found Iris in her room and arrested her. And ever since, she's been under police supervision at the detention center.
Yes, I suppose. I can't deny any of that. Thank goodness. It looks like he's finally convinced, but something still seems off. Way off. I'm not convinced that the Iris here is the same one as the other night.
I suppose you're about to say something ridiculous. Like the real Iris and the spirit of Dahlia somehow switched places?
Switched places? To be perfectly honest, there are still quite a few things I don't understand, but I do know that unless we confirm the witness's identity, we cannot continue with this trial.
Iris doesn't have the spiritual power needed to channel Dahlia, which means they must have switched places somewhere.
Well, Mr. Wright, since the time she was arrested at Hazakura Temple, have there been any chances for Iris to switch places with Dahlia Hawthorne?
There was one. Your Honor, I think there might have been one chance.
Oh? Explain yourself.
Yesterday, for a few minutes, Iris's whereabouts were unknown.
Unknown? What do you mean?
What I mean is there was a span of time in which Iris was able to move freely, unsupervised.
Well, who was it? Who would give a murder suspect time to move about freely like that?
I'm sorry. I know you didn't mean to. It wasn't your fault. The person who gave Iris the chance to move freely about. I'm so sorry, man.
This is Mr. Edgeworth, isn't it?
Your Honor, there was a fairly large earthquake yesterday, was there not?
An earthquake?
Earthquake! Oh my goodness, the inner temple! This kind of tremor might...
Might what?
How could I have...
Oh, sorry. How could I have... She fled! She escaped! We went to the inner temple right away. And it's true, Iris was already there. However, they had already switched places by that point in time. When I arrived at the training hall, I was met by none other than Dahlia Hawthorne.
That's quite enough already, Mr. Wright. Now see here. No judge in his right mind would consider the idea of spirit channeling...
Be quiet. It's been a long time, Mr. Judge.
That voice.
Guess I'll have to ask again. Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask for her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
Dahlia Hawthorne, and my current profession, permanently retired.
So you're not gonna bother hiding your identity anymore, huh?
Why should I? After all, I'm dead. There's really nothing you can do to punish me.
What's going on in here?
Dahlia Hawthorne. I never thought we'd meet again, and I never thought we'd meet like this. But this time I'll end it, for her and for myself. Oh my God. Oh my God.